I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is approval of minutes of November 19, 2014. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next is accept agenda. I don't have anything to change tonight, so make a
Do we-
motion to accept as presented.
Do we have executive session?
Probably not. We can
Okay.
eliminate the executive session. I don't have any updates tonight. Thank you,
Okay.
Ryan. So
Okay.
we'll eliminate number 18. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And under communications and correspondence tonight, we have an update from our Route 17 project, and Brian McCarthy's here, and Ralph Zampano's here as well. Welcome.
Good evening.
Hi, Brian.
Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. Since, I think it's been a few, 3 or 4 months probably, since presented to you.
I gave a brief update last time, just
Okay.
a little bit, but knew you would be coming tonight.
Okay. So in the meantime, in terms of the design progress, we completed a traffic study. The engineers are digesting that, as well as planning some communication with DOT. And by the time our next meeting in January as a committee, we'll have some definitive information on that. And that'll give us some better parameters of what the recommendation would be for an entrance. And I think that would also better inform, what the specific conditions we would be considering for Selectman Street in terms of the cul-de-sac there. The other work that's going forward is some additional environmental testing, just to get a little bit more information to better design how we would manage the soils there, the pesticide residuals that are present there. So that's ongoing as well. So I'll probably have some more results on that, what the impact of the project would be. We've also been kind of in the time frame this fall, having some discussions with various members of the board and others, just to get some informal feedback on the scope of the project and potential phasing and so on. And we think that given the amount of site work that would need to be done there, any significant phasing is not really practical. But the bulk of the work would have to be done in one phase. There could be some subsequent phases for amenities like whether that's landscaping, trees, planting, or things like fencing and so on and so forth. So we could budget accordingly. Our plan right now is to really kind of nail down our final design within the next couple of months. And that would include breaking some items out as potential bid alternates, so that would also allow us to make decisions on budgeting and so on. And I think that when I come back to you next, either maybe in February or late January after our next meeting, we'll have some more definitive numbers on what we would see as an overall construction budget, so that would give you some time to digest that. We'll look at the other needs of the town, balancing that in terms of bonding and borrowing requirements and so on. And so, in terms of the committee, would be in favor of looking to, if the project was going to go forward, looking to do that with some type of authorization with the elections next fall, so the bonding, but knowing the other competing needs and making sure that you're well informed to do that. And again, looking out to the public, again, with here's our kind of our final plan, budget, and also being able to do some analysis of what the impact would be to the average taxpayer, if you will, in terms of financing the project. So that's kind of a quick
questions for Brian?
I had a couple of.
Fred?
And I think you brought this up before, it came up at some point, maybe with a discussion about fields generally, but have you looked at the issue of usage of the field and use of pesticides? I know a couple of towns have run into difficulty because their fields, they were not able to use the fields, or in such disrepair. And the issue, I think, was that not only high school students, but younger students were using the field. And the way, as I understand it, the state law, from that discussion, the state law says that if it's high school only, you can use the pesticides. If it's younger than high school, you cannot. And I could see where potentially that could create, an additional expense. I was wondering if that's been discussed, or would that be an issue with?
Yeah, I don't have any specific information on that. Carl Johnson's been a regular attendee at our meetings and has certainly been, raising or making sure we identify issues related to operations and maintenance. And we haven't specifically discussed what would be required for treatment of the fields. We're certainly advocates of irrigating the fields, which helps a lot. And I think that he's been able to make some progress in terms of, and gain some experience in managing the existing fields that are used by middle schoolers to comply with the state requirements. And that's certainly something I'll bring back to the committee and the engineers to see if we can be confident that what we would plant there would be able to be maintained without being in compliance with those requirements, or whether we think that's problematic. I'll bring that back to the engineers.
And the second point was on that, I think I believe the plan showed 2 soccer fields, one being a practice field, am I correct? Is that the?
They're both designed to be regular, I think, full fields, both fully developed and graded plain soccer fields. I think that there was a concept in terms of potential phasing where you would just do rough grading for a second field and not do the full build out, and that could be suitable for practice in terms of an initial phase. But I don't think there's really a significant savings by doing it that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brian? Thanks
Okay.
very much. Anybody else want to say anything? Ralph, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say is that, we've taken to heart some of our conversations that we've had about making sure how to get the word out to the public.
Do you want to speak at the microphone, Ralph? Laura, you know Ralph, right?
Yeah, I think, we've had conversations about, one of the challenges will be to get acceptance, in the public, the general public. So we have brainstormed some of those ideas. We know that, I guess, we assume what will happen at this point is that the design will be delivered, and there may be another committee that will be formed to build it out. So we're trying to get a jump on that, to try to identify the items and the tasks that we think will be critical to, getting a head start on that group and what they should, keep in mind and trying to get out to speak to people about it. So some of the things we talked about at the last meeting, I kind of documented them. We've added a few more. So
Good.
we realize it's a challenge, so we have to make sure that we get the public educated on what we're trying to do.
Very good. Thank you. I'll just give a brief report on the Vibrant Communities Initiative, which you may remember is the $50,000 grant that we were awarded for the revisiting of the Elmcrest project, and as to whether there could be a couple of alternatives offered for the owner-developer. And we met yesterday, a group of interested citizens, along with the owner and a potential developer representative, and town staff and myself. And we did select a group that will be awarded the contract. I'm not going to announce it tonight because everyone hasn't been formally notified, but we should be by the end of the week, we'll be announcing the name of Very pleased. All three applicants were very good, and one outshined, and they were unanimously approved to proceed with a contract. So I'll be working on a contract and bring that to you in short order. I think I told you that we also interviewed for the Brownstone 4 project, which is also a STEEP grant, and that was awarded to Jacobson Engineering, and they're working with us in terms of the improvements paid for by STEEP, which is new bathrooms, a covering for the stage, a better driveway, an entrance to the park, as well as some other landscaping and other items for that particular grant. The Airline Trail project, it's not too much update on that. We're working out the lease agreement with CL&P, and there also needs to be a right-of-way understanding and/or agreement with Algonquin Gas, because they have a right-of-way on that land as well. So that's in lawyers' hands, and they're reviewing that. We did, through Rick's team, we did make an application to the Office of Policy Management for STEEP once again, and hopefully we'll be successful. We put in an application for a $500,000 improvement to the water main and other types of public works improvements on Spring Street, which we talked about previously. So we did get that in, I think it was the last week of November, that went on. And we also selected a firm to assist with the update of the Plan of Conservation and Development, and that is Planometrics. And we are working with them to fashion a contract that will be in keeping with the amount of money, which is $20,000 that's been allocated for that project. So we're working on that as well. Hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have that contract in place, and we'll be bringing that to you too. I think those are the key updates I wanted to give you on those projects tonight. Any questions from anybody at this point? Okay, public comment. Yes.
Put on my other hat. For the record, my name's Brian McCarthy, I live at 3 Woodland Road. I know further on the agenda tonight, you have an item for water and sewer rates, and water and sewer customer disclosure. I'm also a civil engineer, consulting civil engineer. I work with other municipalities on their programs. I urge you to take some action on the water and sewer infrastructure in the town. The system doesn't get any better with age. We need to, but I also would urge you to take a long-term view on this, and this is something that's going to, these assets, as they exist, and they'll be updated over time, are really a critical part of the backbone of the town in the future. And as you look to solve the rate problem, don't just look at, trying to fix this year's or next year's budget problem, but, take a 20 or 40-year view of what the needs of the town are, what the assets, how they need to last to serve the town, because it's really a critical part of the economic vitality and quality of life in the town. I've been affected by the Spring Street breaks myself, so I know what's going on, but I also know what it takes to keep the system up and running, and the amount of financial investment that's needed to replace aging assets or expand the system and so on. I know it's not cheap by any means, but it's something that I think we need to do, and we really need to take a long-term view. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments tonight? Norm?
Yeah, one quick comment.
Sure.
With a Norm Ward, with a dual hat, chairman of Portland Conservation, and as a taxpayer. On the Route 17 recreational complex, I heard a couple soccer fields, but I didn't hear anything about passive recreation. I believe our original intent when we purchased this piece of property was hopefully to include some passive recreation where people could get out, walk a little bit, and maybe have a few picnic tables. So I don't know if that's in the plan, but.
I'm gonna have Brian respond to
So
that.
that's what-
Sure, yes, no, that's all part of the plan, is passive recreation.
Yes, yes, there is passive recreation. And if you wanted to look at at least the draft, which isn't completed, I do have copies of that, as does the Parks and Recreation Department. So anytime, Norm, give us a call or stop by, we'll let you take a look at the boards. I think probably Sean has a bigger, does he have a board of
I think so,
the,
yeah,
of the
sure.
recreational complex?
Yep.
Okay, so check with Sean Dwyer, Park and Rec Director, and he'll be able to show that to you so you can see it. You're welcome. Anything else? Okay. You do have, next on the agenda, the Board of Selectmen meeting dates for the calendar year 2015. And this, by state law, we have to adopt. We'll still be meeting the first and third Wednesdays of the month, with some exception in July. I think it's too close to probably July 4th, so we will not be meeting that first Wednesday in July. These are subject to change, should there need to be, but we do need to at least adopt a calendar at this point. You want to take a minute and look at them? I think we had mailed these to you ahead of time.
I make a motion to accept these dates as presented.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
Second by Ryan. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next is a financial matter, and Tom Robinson is here. It's a resolution for compliance amendment to the defined contribution plan. Tom, did you want to just explain it to the selectmen, please?
Really, divine benefits, a divine contribution plan here for town employees and town board employees. And in that, there are, the administrator of that is Mass Mutual, and the administrator of that also with our legal firm of Shipman and Goodwin, who represents us. And the Mass Mutual has let us know that there needs to be an amendment to the plan. And it's really a language clarification for the definition of spouse. And this here is just allowing me to sign that amendment, and we can get that distributed and continue to be in compliance, needs to be approved by December 31st of this year. So it's really just a definitional issue, and we'll get it taken care of here tonight and get it signed and distributed.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ryan. Any questions for Tom on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And the next item is also, had been shared with the selectmen ahead of time, so they had a chance to look at fourth quarter transfers. Tom, is there anything you wanted to highlight on this?
No, I think this is just an item that we go through every year, and I don't think there's anything here that we hadn't already previously discussed and during our cycle of June 30, and items that we did know we were gonna have to, cover for via transfer. It's just covering some of those items that were over based on weather or, compliance requirements from DEP. Or in some instances, some additional, development in town which could cause revenue as well as cause expenditures.
Any questions?
I just have one question.
Sure.
Maybe this is for Rick, actually, is just, I was at the Board of Ed meeting last night, and they had seen significant savings, because of the fuel prices going down. I was just wondering if the town has seen that as well.
Tom might be better than I.
Oh, okay.
I know by converting to gas, it's a little bit hard to tell. Most of our buildings actually, our heating fuel is natural gas, which is very recent, so it's hard to kind of get a handle on.
Oh.
We've got savings, but I guess the magnitude, I'm not sure if Tom can add to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then a couple of the instances where the Board of Ed would save in
Mhm.
addition to us is they've converted all their buildings to natural gas employment. And at one point there was they were using oil as well as we've had some savings in our diesel price on that side and we do a lot of the busing.
Mhm.
So we've seen some savings with that diesel. We locked in a decent rate on diesel. That's for this year 50. And we've also seen some savings on gasoline at this point. So that's decent. We anticipate seeing hopefully some savings with natural gas this year as well.
Mhm.
Last year, one of the things that actually did pop up on a flip side, which they may not have as much as we do. We have some propane situations in places. Propane last year was quite expensive, and that had gone over our expected marketing in multiple accounts. So where we did save in natural gas and some of the oil,
Mhm.
we did have a little bit of overrun in some areas with propane. But we continue to try to move forward with natural gas, and hopefully, hopefully, as prices will stay well, good for us, and we will have some savings.
I think the latest conversion is the sewer plant.
That's complete.
That's completed.
Recent.
Yep, that's good. And all of the buildings except the town garage is not, is that right, Rick? That's
Highway garage,
propane?
Animal control.
Animal
transfer
control,
station.
transfer
We're
station.
converting as we speak the generator, a new generator at the town hall, which should be installed hopefully in the next 2 weeks. But we're converting the fire company one generator, that should be done next week. Converting from
Good.
oil to gas.
Good.
Propane units.
Propane tanks, yep.
With some of those sewer plants, three different bills that came in. Just got those in probably a month or so ago. And those were for 2 or 3 periods back, so we're looking for those numbers and getting all of that.
Good. Any other questions? Did we make a motion on this?
Just one more.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering, this is not really about this, but a little bit, going forward, do we have enough money now for repairs to the equipment? I mean, I know what we experience right
Yeah.
now, and.
And I always say, it's dependent on the winter. If you have a hard winter,
Right.
it's
Okay.
more expensive.
Mhm.
It's relatively easy. Right now, I think I'm not exactly sure, I think we're probably.
We're doing,
Do we put more money in this year for
No, what we
repairs?
did
I
is-
can't.
I believe it correctly where I'm wrong, is we were fortunate, you guys were gracious enough to replace a number of pieces of equipment.
Mhm.
So I think we cut back slightly on the repairs,
Yeah.
hoping that we'll be repairing less old
Yes.
stuff.
Okay.
Not significant, if I recall, Tom, what was it? We cut
yeah, and I think.
10 maybe or 20?
I think the areas where I see, continued costs and repairs has actually been the building maintenance side. We've been seeing a lot in that as areas go by via electric garage doors and to oversee heating units that continue to get worked upon. We have acquired some new police vehicles and some new highway vehicles, and some of those are coming in now.
questions? Fred, did you have any questions? Has there a motion been made? No, we need to have a motion for this, fourth quarter transfers. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. In light of the fact that we've spent a fair amount of time trying to prepare some information on water rates, we did not prepare a monthly budget report, which we will incorporate into next month. We didn't have too much activity this month, so we will not have a monthly budget report, but rather we'll go right into water sewer rates. And it's been a lot of work that Rick's office has done, as well as Tom's office and myself. And we do have a document in front of you, so why don't we go over it now? Tom prepared this, and I reviewed it with him today, and Rick had given us some information as well. So this is a draft, and if you want to take each item as it goes. The following accounts, these accounts make up meter sales for customers, hydrants, town facilities. So that means when people buy the water or open their taps, that's what this would be. And town facilities. And the rate increase that is on this draft is for usage is 12.5. And we see unmetered sales. Currently, we have seen on average revenue of $17,750 from what we're calling unmetered sales. That's really a misnomer. They are metered sales, they're just not sales that come out of the tap. So that would be water that we would sell to other pool companies, or they fill their pools and utilize our water. We charge for that. And with a 1.125% increase, so it's really a 12.5%. It would become, instead of $17,750, $19,969, an increase of $2,219. For metered sales, an average revenue over the last 3 years is $765,000. With a 12.5% increase on that, you would realize an additional $95,625, and the expected results would be $860,625. Sales to public authorities, that would be all of the schools, the town. Would the Portland Housing Authority be included in that number? No. No, okay. So it's just the town, pretty much. So $59,250. With the increase, we would see that go to $66,656, which would be an increase of $7,406. If you look at the numbers, that little note there, it's $842,000, which is the number that is the average over 3 years. If you divide that by the current rate, which is $3.88 per 100 cubic feet, you come up with 217,010 100 cubic feet, which is very close to what was billed, which was 218,000 100 cubic feet. Is that right? Next, in terms of user charges, interest, and liens, these are accounts that would be delinquent, and there's interest charged and then lien fees assessed. Currently, over the last 3 years, the revenue from that is $28,000, with a projected 12.5% increase, which we don't know. You don't know that that's really an increase. But if there were, that would increase the revenue by $3,500, which is a small amount. Minor and miscellaneous charges, we just put $3,000 in there with no change to that. so the expected result would remain 3,000. Now, meter charges to be restructured is a little more complicated, and what we've done is we've attached to this sheet the schedule. Currently, we are realizing $137,000, and that would be from the $15 per quarter that's charged for each regular household meter. And other size, bigger meters get charged a different price. If we adopt the schedule that's in this draft, we would increase that from $137,000 in revenue to $337,000 in revenue, which would be an increase of $200,000 overall from our customers. So if you go to the next page, there's one extra copy here. I don't know if anyone wants to look at it. You're welcome. Maybe share it. There's some copies around. I'm sorry, I don't have enough for everybody. You can see that the 5/8 inch meter, which is the typical household meter, right now, there are 2,167 meters with a quarterly charge of $15. So that's what we call a base charge per quarter for basic usage. We estimate from that size meter, we realize $130,020. If we change that rate to $35 a quarter, projected yearly would be $303,380. And then you can see with the 3/4 inch meter, if that increased to a revised rate from 15 to 35, you'd see an increase. Excuse me, not an increase. We don't have the increased numbers there. That would just be the actual number, $12,180. So we didn't do the, correct, Tom? There's no difference rate, right? No, there's an increase of whatever the difference is. And for the 1 inch meter, we have fewer meters at 1 inch, which is 22 meters. If that increase went from $15 to $45, you'd see an increase in that amount. It's shown in your chart. The 1.5 inch, there's only 9 meters. That would go to $60 per quarter. 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch. I guess we have nobody with a 6 inch meter. 8 inch meter, which are the largest meters. Right now, they're being charged $80 a quarter, and this is recommending an increase to $150. What we have is, in some of the larger complexes, they're charged 1 meter charge. So while there might be 70 users, or there may be 80 users, they don't get charged the $15 per quarter per customer. They get charged just the $80. So if you had 70 customers, let's just do this. And they were being charged $35 per quarter, you'd get 2,457, is that right, Ryan? Are you doing this too?
I was doing other numbers.
Okay, I think it's over $2,000. So they're only being charged $150. So you can see where you lose, because each meter is not charged the basic rate. That decision was made long ago. We talked about that before.
Right now, they're being charged 80.
Yes. And if they were, let's say 70 units were being charged $15, I don't have enough light in here. Yep. So instead of being charged $80 a quarter, they'd be charged $1,050. So $150 is really not a large number. In fact, if you look at some of the information that you have in your packets from other water companies, I think you would see there's quite a bit of difference in terms of the meter charges that are charged. I don't know that I have that. What company is that?
Well, you got Connecticut Water,
Yep.
MDC, Weston.
So an 8-inch meter, how much is it, Kathy? An 8-inch for MDC?
$550.56 a quarter.
Did you hear her?
$500.
$550.
Quarter.
Per quarter? So that's actually a modest proposal there
Mhm.
for increase.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So if you flip back to your main page, and we continue, incidentals, which we're proposing be increased by 20%, which is private fire protection. And you would realize $1,645 with that increase. Service connections, of which we make an average of $3,000 worth, so you'd increase $600 for that. Cross connections, if there was an increase for that, you'd realize an additional $1,150. And then a new charge to the general fund for fire hydrants is proposed at $200 per hydrant. And we have 250 hydrants. Is that just once a year? Is that typically the way those are charged, once a year?
We don't charge it.
I know, but in other companies.
We looked at, for example, MDC, we looked at, they range from,
You know what, Rick, we're not gonna pick you up, so if you wanna use a microphone and sit there, you
I
can.
can talk very loud.
No, it's because people
That's fine.
watch it and they can't hear you.
All I was gonna share with you is that you looked at, all over the place and, at different towns, and they vary significantly. MDC primarily varies, from about 102 in Glastonbury per year to, 250 up in Granby. Connecticut Water Company charges more than that for hydrants, so it's all over the board.
You'd realize an increase of $50,000 with that. So, to summarize, our revenue over the last 3 years has averaged $1,026,975. And the budget you adopted last year is $1,373,762. And with these potential changes, you'd realize revenue total of $1,389,120. And the estimated increase, now is this increase only per quarter?
$362?
That's per year.
That's your total increase for the budget.
There's an increase per customer listed here. And that's for the year, okay.
So. and-
Discussion?
Yeah, so just, what we're seeing here for an increase is, it's just the total number of customers, divided by, the increase in rate. So it doesn't take into account usage, right? We're just seeing on average what it would be,
Well, we're using, I
raised.
think, Ryan, the average amount that we had realized over the last 3 years. So estimated
Okay.
revenue based on 3-year review, that column,
Mm-hmm.
that's the revenue that we've been receiving from all customers.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I just was looking at, I'm just for what we're telling, you know, if we're gonna propose a rate increase and we need to, you know, explain why, I'm just trying to think what the 155 is going to be on average per person, per household, per year, right? An increase? So that divided by 4 would be the quarterly increase. And,
Is that right, Tom? That's what he said.
so it's, right now, it's on average about a $39 increase quarterly,
It's gonna vary based on.
but based on usage.
I could share one with you, which goes to the point of meter charges, which I think is a good point that you might want to revisit. I'll give you a for example. I looked at it a little differently, and the 155 is per year is probably pretty good, but it all depends. For example, I looked at it a little differently, and I said that the average household customer, for example, uses 9,300 cubic feet per year. That if you do the math there, the 150 is a good, pretty good number, I think, on the average. The one thing you have to watch out for a little bit is, for instance, if you take a household that has a couple of people, what's gonna affect them a bit is your meter charge is gonna go from 15 to 35. So they're presently paying $160 per year for a flat charge, and they'll be paying $140 for a flat charge. So some of the people will be paying more for their meter charge than they're gonna pay for usage. On the other side of the coin, which Susan was speaking to, the 4 large 8-inch meters are serving primarily Grandview, Copper Beach, Bartlett Hills, and the golf course. And those numbers, I think, are low. And I would suggest to you in retrospect that those numbers get increased from 150 to something more in line with what possibly NBC is charging, which is in the $400 range. And I think that, and possibly a slight lowering of the flat meter charge. Again, you might be able to get to the same place and maybe not hurt the household that has a couple people in it that are gonna get hit a big increase on their, you follow what I'm saying, the meter charge?
Mhm.
You know, just a thought. But I do think that we should consider increasing charges on specifically the 8-inch meters.
The MDC had 8 inches, like 550.
Yeah, 550,
I'm not
56.
suggesting any particular number,
No,
but
but
I
I'm
think
saying
150 is
about
way
it.
low.
But I agree with that, especially if MDC is charging us 550, you know, I mean. it-
No.
But
Wait a
that's what
minute.
we have right,
What are they're charging the whole town that.
yeah, exactly, but it's an 8-inch. I know, I do understand, you know, it is the whole town, but it's still an 8-inch, and that's still their rate that they're charging. So, I mean, if they're setting a standard as far as an 8-inch, at a price, I
Uh-huh.
mean, we could be in line at 400 for an 8-inch. I don't
Some
see,
some
yeah,
increase,
it's some
I'm not
increase.
suggesting 550, but I do think that in fairness.
Because they pay, the other thing you have to remember is Bartlett Hill, for example, even though they don't pay us the $15 per quarter, they do pay a company that comes in and reads their meters. So they already do pay for their individual meters, $15. It just doesn't come to the
Mhm.
town. It goes to a private company.
But when we talk increases, irregardless of that, like I said, the only place there's a little bit of a hurting is the significant increase in meter charges will significantly affect those people that use little water. And I used to say, for example, I looked at a 2-person household, and what they're paying now would be, about $260 per year. And I just average it out. They'll be paying $342. The majority of that charge is gonna be for the meter charge. So it's a pretty significant, now on, some, a four-person house, it won't be quite as the following day.
Mhm.
The difference won't be that significant. Well, 150 is
So it's. Tom, what do these proposed rates do to the deficit that we're running right now for water and sewer? Would this be enough to compensate?
Well, it should stop the annual deficit, the annual shortfall.
Increase.
This should be, make it even
It
for a
should,
yearly
it should, with a little bit of room there.
play with.
Right. Depending on variables, because you don't know how many
Yeah.
customers are going to pay, you don't know
Yeah.
how many.
Cost goes up, usage
cubic
goes
feet of
down.
water,
And-
yes,
and
there's
we're-
diminishing returns.
And we still have, that'll keep us even, and then we still have that deficit.
But if you look at these numbers, Carl, if you look at the 1.389 million.
Yep.
That's higher than our budget. And, as I told you last time, I have put a freeze on all
Yep,
extra
expenditures, yep.
expenditures. So if we can try to be careful with expenditures, anything that you do realize, you may begin to come up with a plan for reducing the deficit and maybe at the same time putting something toward capital.
So at least this brings us even to board right now with these increases.
And the other
Yearly-
thing-
On a yearly,
You have to
operation.
remember too, is as you go forward, maybe the next year, there's a modest increase, to help defray costs.
And our deficit right now, total deficit is, how big?
I think I gave you those figures
Yeah, no,
last
I
time.
just asked for-
I don't have them off the top of my
about
head.
262, more or less.
How much, Rick?
262 more or less.
262,000? And when are we gonna address that deficit? Or how are we gonna address that deficit?
By this.
No, this will bring us even, we're still gonna carry that deficit. If you put these
You
increases.
need to come up with a plan.
Then
for
that's what I'm saying,
how
we'll have to
you
work
can-
on something, how to get that deficit.
But if you're successful with this rate change, and you're successful with trying to be careful with expenditures, you might be able to see some additional dollars coming in. The other option you would have, the only place you're gonna get the money is from your customers.
Right.
And as Ryan just pointed out, you have to be careful in terms of diminishing returns. We don't want people to stop using water. We want them to still use our water.
Everybody needs to shower.
And the other option, which would be wonderful, but it's more difficult, is more customers.
That's the long term.
There are some areas of town that you could look at expansion. And I'm not talking about huge expansions, but maybe some smaller streets where people might wanna link in. But there's a cost to that. There's an infrastructure cost, as well as, just, more customers would then increase the amount of revenue.
Well, at least if we could stop the bleeding, is we have to do that anyway. We have to at least do this much, or it's gonna be
Yeah, you
larger
have to.
and larger and larger,
Right.
year by year by year.
Right.
So something like this has to be put in, and maybe we can tweak some of these numbers.
But we also have to think about replacing these 100-year-old.
That's even more on top of that. That's
Exactly.
not even considering
Yeah.
any of these numbers.
That's costly.
That's gonna be huge.
That's, yeah.
We know that.
Well.
But we gotta do it because we're spending all this money to repair these breaks and.
Yeah, every break, what do you
what's
say,
up.
50,000 for just Spring Street?
That's a little bit more than the norm,
That's-
but
mhm.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
one thing I would like to address that didn't get brought up is, in this proposal, you're looking to cut the one unfunded person that has been in there for some time. And I think it's important that we think about this and kind of echo what Brian had brought up, and I appreciate that, is, and we need to look ahead. So this proposal, I'm very happy that we're moving in the right direction, but, and I was hopeful that when we get revenues back in line, that we properly staff and properly provide the resources that we need, which we're not. So right now, we're in a spending freeze, and we're losing a position that has been in this budget for some time, when I was hopeful that we'd get funded so that we can begin to properly operate. So, I'm hopeful that if you were gonna go in this direction, that next year, we don't lose that position. Again, I'm running the water department with 2 people. And when we had the Springs Creek break, my supervisor was on vacation, which he was justified, so I had 1 experienced water person. So, you know, as we go along here, I've talked to you folks a number of times about reductions in public works. We're down 25% of the work staff. We went from 5 people 20 years ago in water to 2 people. That's excessive. And we're playing with fire, no pun intended. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. We're under the microscope of the DPH and the DEEP. When something goes wrong, you know, I just want to be sure that we pay attention to, you know, while we're funding these things, we're now in a budget freeze, and we lost that position that's been waiting, hopefully, to be filled. So, in a way, we're going in a good direction, and in another way, we're going in a bad direction.
Well, I do want to say thank you, guys, for putting in the work on this, because it's, you know, I know
It's a lot of-
we've been
it is a
over
lot
it.
of
It's
work.
not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
There's so much to it, and I know everyone hates to, you know, raise prices, but I don't think we have a choice.
Right.
No, we don't. And this does make it a lot clearer and easier to see
Mhm.
of how the increases are gonna be put. We have the chairman of our water and sewer here. Do you have anything that you wanted to bring forward now? Go ahead.
I was pleasantly surprised with the thoroughness of everything you've done, so, and the board, the only thing that I would like to address is the seriousness and the fact that it should be done as quickly as possible. We have a deficit on June 30th, 2014 of $263,000. And for the last 6 months, according to that figure, in the shortfall last year, we're running about $3,200 a week deficit in the water department. So we've got 6 months. We've had a 263 deficit on 2014, and if you multiply 6 months times $3,200, it's grown substantially. I don't have the figures on the sewer side, but they're similar. And the sewer side, although slightly smaller, started out this year with a deficit of about $279,000. So I would say by now that's up over $300,000. So the only thing I can say is I appreciate your efforts tonight. You certainly did a good job, but just get it done as quick as possible.
Thanks, sir.
So we haven't really addressed the sewer side on this. This is only on water rates, right?
Well, I think the concept is similar, but we'll have to get the actual numbers for you. But I wanted to put this out because of the concept, so that you have an idea.
I had a couple of other questions.
Yep.
Do we have a figure on the average or a median figure on cost for residential of 5/8 meters? Is there a figure of, median figure we could look at? I was just trying to get a sense of what the dollar figure per year is gonna be increased.
Presently, the average household uses, again, 9,300 cubic feet at a present rate of 388 equals approximately $422 per year.
422, 420.
Per year.
Per year.
And I did some comparisons on a 20% increase, so my numbers aren't quite right. But if you use the same numbers, you're probably looking at $150 increase per year, probably is a reasonable number, somewhere in the ballpark.
Right, right, they jumped from 60 on the meter side, 60 to 140, so that's a plus 80 there. And then you're saying a third, let's say 400, so that's another 10% is 40 something. So you're looking at 120, 120 and up.
I would say, you know, in the range of
What?
120 to 160.
120 to 160.
And it's seasonal, some of it's seasonal.
And are there any large, in the business side, are there any large users who are going to be impacted significantly? You know, obviously a laundromat's going to use more, car wash is going to use more, but do we have anybody else that?
There are larger users that will be impacted, you know, not off the top of my head.
But there's, okay,
Probably the nursing home, I would think.
Yeah, Greystone certainly will be.
Yeah.
the nursing home.
Assisted living facilities, yeah. They'd be pretty good sized customers, I would say.
Now, these increases that we're putting forward does not include or any change in the price of our water right now, right? These are all just user fees? Is the water fees going up?
What do you mean?
The actual cost of the water that we're charging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
That's the 100 cubic feet.
On the thing, okay.
The first one there, Carl.
Yeah.
So the average, we have a sense of what the average cost is per user if this goes forward. And of course, they have the other electric increase too, which pushes it up.
Oh, they're gonna go
About
up 2%?
200.
That's what I was
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
But as Rick was saying, as someone who doesn't use
Yeah,
a lot,
no, that-
yeah, it's good. Now, so as Dick said, we're losing, or right now, we're running at roughly, say, $3,200 a week. Can we?
Well,
I
that's
don't.
what this will
Yeah,
address.
no, I know, I think this is great. So what I'm wondering is how everyone feels about a town hearing, or like what's
Well,
the.
you have to.
Well, I know, but is this good enough to take it to the town, I guess is my question. What do you guys think?
You should do both.
Both
Mhm.
sewer too?
shouldn't you?
Yeah. We should work on that also at the same time.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we can do
Also,
that.
Susan, possibly on the large users, on the large family
Yeah.
users. Like condos, I could we maybe look at that and tweak that a little higher, because if it's $15 or whatever it was per user on a single user, and they're only paying that as a association, I think that's still much too low. I think we should be looking at.
Well, as I said, the individual customers in some of those associations are already paying the same that others are paying. They're just not paying it to the water.
Yeah, I know,
They're paying
that's
it to
not,
somebody
that
else.
has nothing to do with us, really. I mean, it's their,
Well, it
their.
does.
These are
Yes, it
well,
does.
that's
It's
their
the way the system
association,
is
that's
set
the way
up.
they've set it up.
No, it's, well, yeah, it's the
Okay.
way it's, you're right, it's the way it's set up, you're right.
It's the way they set it up, the way we set it up. So I
Well,
think,
it was a-
like I
it
said,
wa-
I just think that.
Just for the record, it was a combination. The town and the association
Oh, at the
determined
time.
how things would be set.
Well, at the time, possibly.
So it would be unfair to, right, put their rates higher than.
No, not their rate, well, I'm just on
On the-
on the size of the.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be, it's different than a 5/8 line now.
Well, that's something we can, why don't we think
We-
about
we
it,
can
and
work
we
on-
can
That's what I'm
revisit
just saying, I'm
it?
not saying we have to, I'm just saying, let's look at that.
Sure.
Because to make that more equitable, to even out, like,
We-
everybody's, costs.
We can take a look at it. It's not gonna impact your bottom line greatly, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
I know that.
exactly.
It's gonna have very little, minuscule impact,
There you go, you did that last
for the bottom line, but a big impact for.
Yeah, the only thing is what I
You
think.
can graduate things in too, I mean, they don't have to be,
What Rick had said as an example, I think, as far as like two people in a low usage household, I mean, they would be impacted with almost, I think it was a 39% increase. And so anything that we can do maybe to maybe lower the the actual meter. I'm just trying to figure out a way
the
that we don't
one-
have to increase them 40% when other people get increased, 12%.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not out of line at 35 with others. It's just the actual meter cost, if you take the actual cost of us do all the metering is really like $10. $10.28, as a matter of fact. We're billing 15. That's the way they were set up back then, is based on the actual cost of the meter. But things have changed. So most utilities are building in other things such as capital improvements and all that. It's kind of a misnomer to call it a meter charge, because it includes, at 35, it includes a lot more than just the cost of the meter. But not to complicate matters, we're not way out of line at 35.
Could we maybe take it down to 30 and then put the rest into usage? No.
You can do whatever, but.
Whatever
The two
has
biggest,
votes.
We're splitting hairs.
I mean, you're gonna collect your money, all the incidental stuff really is insignificant. And you're collecting your money on user charges or meter charges.
Mhm.
The rest is,
Exactly.
somewhat inconsequential.
Why don't you think about this, and we'll meet again, because I think these are good points, good questions. This
Can we
isn't
get sewer?
set in stone.
Can we
That's
get
what we'll do
sewer for the
time.
next meeting?
Sure.
Because
Yep.
that would be great, because, I don't know, I just want to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible at this point, I
Yeah, we
think.
have to do that.
And so I'm really hoping that if we have numbers at the next time we meet this month, maybe we can set a town date for January.
Well, I would suggest, I think this is good. I think you've got something, we got, the basis of something to go to a public hearing, and whatever happens, sewer happens, but I think if we're going, when we do go to public hearing, I think we probably should not plan on doing it before our selectmen's meeting, because based on some other turnouts recently when towns have gone in for rate increases, a big turnout. Maybe not, but I think
Yeah,
we
I
need,
think
what I'm
you're
saying,
right.
we need more time, I think,
Yes, we do.
allotted for that. I don't think we can just do it prior to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have to think about the deficit and how we're gonna, think about how we're gonna
Yeah, that's-
work on that. I mean, this is one thing we immediately have to do, but we still have that big number that's sitting out there that we're gonna have to fix one way or another somehow.
This is phase one. I
That's
think
phase
we
one,
can all
right.
agree this is something that we can
At least
actually
it doesn't
get
increase,
going on.
it's not gonna be increasing that deficit. I wanna at least
And you
stop it.
have to think about, and I know that I'm repeating myself,
Yeah.
but as the water and sewer authorities, you have to think about how you're operating this, whether it's working, and how you're going to, like we talked about earlier, how your future's going to be. And I know I'm the one that's been kind of harping on this, but you can't outprice yourselves either. You have to be very careful how we do this. I think this particular proposal will have an impact on users, definitely. Now, a plan for how we proceed, yes, I think that's appropriate. I think,
Sounds fair.
I've been trying to do this for a long time, and we've struggled. It's taken us a long time to get to this point, and I'm glad that we're where we're at. And we're not done, I think is what you're saying. We're not finished. But there's the big picture we've got to really think about and spend a lot of time on. So I think to your point, Fred, we do need a lot of time for the public hearing. And then I think as a board, you have many hats you wear, and certainly as water and sewer authority, many communities, it's not, you're the Board of Finance, you're the Board of Selectmen, and you're the water authority, and you're the sewer authority, and you're a number of other things too. So you have to spend, I think, a whole meeting or two on this to talk about the system. And there's other things that I know that we could be sharing with you too. And we'll try to do that as we go forward.
How would everyone feel about that public hearing in January, though? I mean, 4 weeks from now, as things stand, we'll have lost another 13,000. So that's why, time seems to be of the essence these days. I just would rather make sure that everyone is open to addressing this publicly sooner. I mean, we're gonna have people, if we have it in January or if we have it in, next year. So it doesn't matter, it's just getting that hearing.
Well, we have our schedule of our meetings.
Yeah.
And if you did not want to have it on those dates, you'd have to select another date.
We could do that, or have basically a non-meeting, just an introduction meeting, and then go right into the public hearing.
Yep, you
on
could
one
do
of
that
those
too.
2 days, or we
Yep.
could do that. One or the other. I
Yep.
could, either way you want to go is all right with me.
And when you issue, of course, the public hearing notice, you have to have everything as you want it to appear.
Right.
And it might be that after the public hearing, you change it again.
Exactly.
That's what
Mhm.
can happen.
Yeah.
So let me know what date you want, what date you think is good.
I like the 21st right now, just because, it gives us next meeting to finalize something. And then, any foreseeable changes we could address at the January 7th
Yep.
meeting. And then that would put us in a good position to actually
Yep.
be prepared for it.
So we'll pencil that in. I won't issue the notice, because I need to have the particulars in order to put it into the notice, the formal notice.
Mhm.
But we have our reporter here, and he can put that in as the tentative public hearing date. It would be 7 o'clock on the 17th, excuse me, the 21st.
But again, thank you guys. This is.
A lot of work, thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Dick, you?
The only thing I'd like to say is if you can get the numbers out of the sewer department, because the situation is really more critical, more financially speaking, we can do a vote at those.
Well, that's what I think that's what we're gonna do.
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's a good suggestion. Very good.
Can I make one?
Yes.
The water and sewer commission.
Yes, certainly.
That's fine.
Certainly.
That's fine.
Yep, certainly.
Norm Ward, Water and Sewer Commissioner, along with Dick. If it means anything to you, we've been working back and forth. We wholeheartedly support this increase. We have to. Can we afford it? No. But can we afford not to do it? We just have to bite the bullet and just move forward. So we can help you in any way we can.
Thank you.
We're taking part of the heat too, because we've been pushing, and we need to move forward, we need to do something. The only other thing, I noticed we talked about some before, that didn't come up tonight. We have a couple of minor, billings that we didn't address, didn't seem to. We talked about it last meeting, a couple meetings ago, off and on charge for shutting the water off and on. We have a $20 fee, and that hasn't changed for 20 years.
I think that's on here, Norm.
Is it, I'm not
They
sure.
were increased 20%. Those charges across the board got increased 20%.
Okay, in my opinion, a $20 charge to turn the water off or turn it on, 20% of that is peanuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't cover our man and our equipment to go out and shut off the meter,
Mhm.
in my expectation, not with today's charges and fringe benefits. So you increase that by 20%.
Is this the
It's
service
$4.
connection?
Yes.
Is that, so even if we did 40%, we'd only see a $1,200.
It's not gonna amount to
Yeah,
any-
there's only, even the
It doesn't amount to
20%.
much, but-
Yeah, I agree.
We have, it's just to bring it to light, we haven't increased it for so long, so
Right.
I think we kind of, we forget about it.
Right.
It's minor, but every little bit helps and keeps us in tune, I
Right.
think.
You remind me, did I give the selectmen the water regulations? Do you have those in your packets? Because there's where those fees would be, Norm. listed in the water regulations. We don't have sewer regulations per se. And this is what they look like.
I don't think we
know
have
that I
that.
gave them to you, so I will send those to you as well.
And again, part of that same thing, we have an off and on for water, we have a final read that we go to read a meter.
Yes.
That's $15.
Right.
It doesn't, it hasn't changed ages. And the only other category I know of that we don't seem to have covered, and it's minor again, private, we got some 6 and 8 in private fire services.
20% increase for, the projected rates include a 20% increase on those also.
Okay. So if we, looking at what was proposed tonight, we got fire hydrants from the town, a new charge for the general fund. We got $200 a hydrant. This private, we got $135 fee, $180 fee, that's an 8-inch. And for a couple minor, we got 20 minor private fire hydrants at $27 a piece.
Quarterly are those.
Right. Again, I think.
But those are good details for us to review. I appreciate that. And I will scan the regulations in and send them to you. They're lengthy, but you can review them, and there will be, those fees are in here as part of the regulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so to summarize, we'll aim for a public hearing on rate changes on January 21. And we will get for you for the meeting in December. Is it 17? Is that our date?
I think so.
No, December?
Oh,
Yeah,
December,
17.
sorry.
Is it 17?
Yes.
17. We'll get a similar chart for sewer rates, and we'll review those. And if you have some more thoughts, as you've put them forward tonight, we can certainly make the necessary changes before we go to public hearing. Okay. Anything else on this topic, or are you ready to move on? To appointments to boards and commissions? Kathy?
I have one tonight. I'd like to nominate Sharon Peters to the Ethics Commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Jim, you were appointed as an alternate to Parks and Rec last time. Did you get a letter yet, or did it not come?
I did not get a letter yet, but I'm planning to attend.
Okay. You are an alternate. You've been appointed. We'll get the letter out to you.
Thank you.
Everyone remembers me doing that, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Refunds of excess payments.
I'll make a motion to refund $16.78 to Marilyn E. Daly.
Second.
Seconded by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Status and committee reports. Public comment. Board of Selectmen, general informal discussion. Anything tonight? Okay. Follow-up items, I don't have any updates for you tonight. As I said, we worked mostly on the rates this time,
Okay.
and I don't have any updates from the Ethics Commission yet. I think they were waiting for the appointment, which we made tonight.
I don't think we can talk about sidewalks without Brian.
No.
I don't have anything new to add.
Well, I did have, I did have a comment on that. Yeah, Brian is, is not here, so.
Yeah.
But,
He's
I
ill.
think that we talked about the policy items, and we clearly were addressing the major one tonight. And the other two that are on there, I think are also policy, and there are others too. But, I just would like to say that next time I'd like to come in with your permission, our next meeting, just to share with you some thoughts I have. And I see where this would, if it goes, if there's any consensus to move forward with it, it's not gonna happen immediately anyway. It's gonna be into next year, and it would probably require some allocation of a modest amount of money to put in place some type of program. But I'll pass this out tonight, which is just something from the Plan of Conservation, the present Plan of Conservation Development. It's a little good background, and it points out that there are a few things we have done in this area, and so some progress has been made. But it points out the problems. There's 16 miles of sidewalk. Clearly, we're not going to be able to deal with 16 miles of sidewalk in a short period of time, but hopefully we can take a look at it, and as I say, I'd like to come in and give you some thoughts, at least so you'll know where I'm coming from. And maybe
Great.
our other sidewalk selectman will be here. too.
I did get a call from one homeowner on Main Street, and she had read about the sidewalk discussion, and she said that she wants to participate in any program that we propose. She's very interested in learning more about it and wanted to be sure that we keep her informed. So I thought that was good feedback from one of our residents. And I still need to see if I can get any more information from CCM. I did get some, but I don't know if they have any more information. I can certainly try that.
Fred, did you want that on the agenda for next time?
Yes, it probably should be, because I don't intend to take a whole lot of time unless somebody else gets wrapped up too. But I'd like to at least share my thoughts. I've been thinking about it, and had some,
Great.
I have some interest in this. and
Great, no, it's good.
It's almost like, I'm thinking of our tree program. When you try to, it's not a lot of money when you're investing, and you set up a program and it repeats itself, and then
Right.
the program continues. And
Right.
that's what I'm.
Start
I like
somewhere.
it. Yeah.
Yes. Good point. Anything else on these topics? Thank you, Fred. We'll put that on the agenda for next time. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.